Every thought deserves its moment. This is Overthinking Out Loud.
Grab a drink, lean in, and let's overthink it together. Out loud.
Well, coffee cheers.
Coffee cheers.
Let's do this.
Episode 3.
Episode 3. Now I'm feeling really insecure about if people can hear me swallow my espresso. For the listeners, we've had mic troubles on episode 3, but we are working on it.
We've had mic trouble since the beginning, really.
Since the beginning.
It's a work in progress. Who knew?
Who knew? Why all these people on YouTube that just walk around in the middle of like a downtown area and it's so clear.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was easy.
Yeah, that's because they got a team.
That's also true.
One day.
They got people to they pay people for that.
Yeah, they pay people for that.
One day.
We're not there yet.
Not there yet. Is it? Speaking of trajectory
Yeah.
and growth
Yeah.
and career and what do you do with your life? That's what today is about.
All about career paths and if it's a good move to go to a new career.
Yep.
If it's a good move to stay at your current career.
Yep. And do you pivot?
Do you pivot?
Yeah.
And how do you pivot?
Yeah. And I think a lot of that is about how do you feel in that moment and what you're looking for and turning into yourself and your own values and all that. So I'm excited to talk about careers today.
Yeah.
Me too. I feel like we both have very different like backgrounds in that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm super excited.
Yeah. All right.
So let's get into it.
Let's get into
All
this, party
right.
people. So we talked about it in our first episode, what we do.
Yep.
We're both in events.
Yep.
We kind of come from different event backgrounds, but now we work together.
Yeah.
And I think I shared in the first episode, maybe I didn't, I don't know. I have always loved events.
Mm-hmm.
I started in marketing and a little bit of events and fundraising and nonprofit, and then just continued down the path of like, I want to do events.
Yeah.
And so here I am.
Yeah.
Like that is my sole job.
Could you imagine? Like when you first started, what was your very first job? Your very first
my
job.
very first job, I worked at Safeway.
Okay.
I was a courtesy clerk, which is a fancy description for someone who collects carts and bags your groceries and cleans the bathroom.
Hey, started from the bottom.
Start from the bottom, now we're here, yeah. Although, you know, I would probably still do a bunch of random stuff at events. I think we both do, but
Yeah, I've plunged a toilet or two.
yeah, taking out the trash, had it like break on you.
Oh,
Yep. Mhm.
dragging the juices across the floor. Nice.
Yeah, we're not above it.
No.
We're not above it.
No, we just get paid more to do it now.
Yeah.
So
What was your first job?
my very first job was a camp counselor, if you can believe that.
With kids?
With children. Yeah. We'll get into that in the next episode. But yeah, with children. I was essentially, it was a summer camp and it was an outdoor camp.
Mm-hmm.
So everything is outdoors except for one like trailer, but the trailer housed all like the basically infants, like
Mhm.
kindergarten and below. And so like nobody went in there. So it was like always outdoors. And it was fun. I mean, I don't know what I was doing. I never babysat before. Like
Mhm.
I was 14.
Wow, you just really raw dogged that.
Yeah.
You had no babysitting experience.
Nope.
You're like, you know what? Why don't I just be in charge of a bunch of kids at summer camp?
So was I good at it? Probably not. Did I reprimand a single child? Absolutely not. But I had a good time. I
That's
feel
what it's all about.
I feel like I was just like part of the crew. I was like with the kids,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah,
But-
you're egging on the bad behavior.
Yeah, I was like, let's do it.
Let's do it. That's the best kind of camp counselor, actually. But did you at that? How old were you when you did that?
14.
Okay.
Which I think is child labor now, but
Yeah. Right. Same. I started my first job when I was 14. Is that even legal anymore?
I don't know.
I think you can only work a couple hours a day if you're under 16.
You
or
know,
something
I
like
worked straight 8 hours, if not more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Free labor or
Genuinely.
very cheap labor.
I don't even know I made $5. I literally don't even remember.
Oh wow, we aged ourselves.
Really.
Did you know when you were that young? Because that's about middle school going into high school. Did you know what you wanted to do at that time?
Hell no. 0%. What I did know, well, okay, let me take that back. I knew that I loved pets. That was like the one thing I actually knew.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the same time, I was volunteering at, well, I think I was more like 16 at the time, but I was volunteering at an animal hospital
Mm-hmm.
where we literally took our dog, and I literally was free labor volunteering, like taking temperature of animals. And I think most people know
in their
how that
butts.
works. Yeah, in their actual butts. I was their literal dirty work person. Like I was cleaning everything. I was doing the temperature checks.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing like the anal gland stuff.
As a child?
Yeah, as a literal child with no pay, 0%, like literally for free. Because I just wanted to see if I would like it. But they did also low-key have me in like surgery,
Mm-hmm.
just like in there. So like I was
Are you passing them tools or something? Or are you just watching it?
I was just watching it. They were like, yeah, come on in, just scrub in and like watch how the surgery's done.
That's so interesting because at that, I want to say I was 15, maybe 16, when I did a summer program to become a nurse assistant. And again, that was one of those things where looking back, I'm like, they let you become a nurse assistant that young? I was working in a rehab facility and changing people's diapers, bathing them, feeding them.
Gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of weird thinking about it now that I did it at that age.
Yes, that seems like somebody with a degree would have to do. I mean, yes and no, I guess. But
at least someone who's over 18,
yeah,
maybe?
yeah, an adult probably.
Yeah.
You know, that could be weird.
Yeah.
I feel like it was a wild, wild west, like back then, like in the 90s, like late 90s, early 2000s.
Mm-hmm. I think it was more like 2010s.
Yeah, 2010s.
We're not that old.
No, we're not. I had to pause. That was totally okay. Jess, math, no,
Yeah, it's fine.
Nope.
I got what you're saying.
No, I don't do that. I don't do the math. But you know, the 2010s,
Mm-hmm.
totally different life back then.
Yeah.
Like you could do whatever you wanted. Didn't even matter. Nobody was looking.
I truly wonder if they still allow that to happen because it just seems a little bit weird.
Yeah, it seems unethical. A little bit.
And at the time when you're that kid, you're pumped.
Pumped.
You're like, I'm doing an adult job. I have responsibilities.
Yeah.
People trust me. But then now that I'm an adult, I think back and I'm a little shocked that anybody allowed me to do that. I was a responsible kid, but I had someone's life in my hands once or twice, and that was kind of, I don't know.
It seems a little bizarre that anybody would nowadays I don't think I would trust a 16-year-old to do much of anything.
Yeah.
Really.
I started babysitting when I was 11. I would never trust an 11-year-old to babysit my kid.
Maybe it's us. Is it us?
I don't know. People had too much trust in us when we were younger, apparently.
Way too much trust.
Yeah. But it's interesting that you say you didn't know what you wanted to do because I feel as though, I always thought I knew what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I wanted to be a nurse. At one point wanted to be a journalist, but I always had something, especially in high school. I thought I had to know. I thought that I could not go to college without knowing what I wanted to do with my life or like having a career in mind.
Yeah.
And so I put a lot of pressure on myself to figure that out.
That is really heavy.
Yeah. And I feel like there's a lot of people who do push that. And it wasn't my parents. Maybe it was school, but I really, truly don't think I could have like figured it out without, I don't know what I'm trying to say right now. This happens a lot.
Yeah.
But
it's the pressure of like what you're supposed to do. There are a lot of pressures to know exactly what you want to do because you have to apply for colleges if that's your choice. You have to apply for colleges that have a major that has what you want to do. And it's like, what if I don't know what to do? And so
Mhm.
there's a lot of pressure to be like, I'm going to this school for this reason, and I have to commit to that.
Yeah.
You're a child.
Okay, you're a literal child. How are you supposed to know what you're doing and have a legitimate plan? I mean, I get that some people do, and that's great, but that's kind of crazy.
And then you think back, and all these kids are like, oh my god, college, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And it's honestly like the career path is like pressured from the start.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's no room for changing of minds. There's no room for trying to figure it out along the way.
Yeah.
So it's very much a pressurized thing.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm a dumb kid. What do I know about what I want to do with my life right now? Especially because a lot of schools don't even really dive into, oh, these are the types of careers you can have, and these are different interests you might have. Like when I was in middle school and high school, all I cared about were my grades. If I had good grades, it kind of translated to like, oh, I could just go to school for anything. But I had no idea what I actually wanted to do. And so I kind of just picked something.
Yeah.
And it worked. Like I loved studying global health in college, and I kind of went down the rabbit hole of, oh, I think I want to be a nurse. Didn't do that. I think I changed my mind a couple of times, but
yeah,
in school stayed the path with at least global health. But
did you change your major at ASU?
So I applied to ASU for journalism, and then before I even started, I got into the journalism school, and then before I even started, I switched my major to global health.
Got it.
And I kept that as my major the whole time, but I added like a certificate here and a minor there, and I did all of the prerequisites to be in the nursing school, and then changed my mind. So they just, I guess, were electives or whatever. But
yeah, because that's also the other thing. It's like you have to get into a good college. You have to put that pressure on yourself to get all the like good grades. Which of course, it's really important to get good grades and to focus in school and to like learn as much as you can. But I think that it comes with added expectations on yourself, where it's scary to change your mind when you do get to college, right? So like, let's say you like in my journey, let's say my junior year of high school, I did not get good grades. I was acting out as teenagers do. And I essentially, junior year is also supposed to be the year that you're supposed to be at your best.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah, that's what they tell you.
That's what they tell you.
You have to have a perfect junior year or else you won't get into college.
Yeah. And I'm like, I did get into college. Like, chill. It's fine. But of course, like, I didn't get into like great schools. I got into fine schools. And maybe coming from a private high school, everyone went to really good schools. Or so like really good schools, and I'm putting air quotes around really good schools because school at the end of the day, which I think I'll get to at the end of this. But it's part of being flexible, and I think that's so important for kids to be like, just be flexible, try everything. Why the hell not? Like, you can choose something just so you can get into college, right? You do your gen eds, join a bunch of college or a bunch of clubs, meet a bunch of people and see how it goes. Because when I got into like a few different schools, like I got into like Fort Collins, what's the school there?
I can't remember.
Colorado State University, I think.
It sounds right.
Whatever, the Rams, all I see is green. And then I got into like, I think I got into ASU, I got into NAU, Northern Arizona University, and that's where I ended up choosing to go for the first semester. And again, I was on this animal path, and I thought I wanted to be a literal zookeeper. Okay. And I was like, oh, they have zoology there. And I literally show up to orientation. They're like, yeah, we don't have that major anymore.
No way.
Yeah.
They accepted you for it, and then you showed up, and
they're like, yeah, we don't have that major anymore. And then they said, quote, what else do you like to do?
Is that even?
And And if that's not the most pivoting thing that you have, like you just have
They
to
just
pivot.
like took your money and said, well, find something else.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
And then I was like, I like to take pictures. I was like, did some photography. And they're like, great, you're a photography major now. Sign me up and move me along.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so then at that moment, I was like, you know what? Fine. Like, let's just make the best of it. And like, I took one class that was like animal behavior class, and it was like a junior level class. And I loved it. It was great.
Mhm.
And everything else was gen eds. Like, cool. And then
Did you like photography? Were you
I
good
didn't
at
even
it?
take a photography class.
Wait, so you changed your major to photography, but you never took a photography class?
No, that's why none of it matters. Okay, you guys, it doesn't matter.
That is true though, because again, like you have all this pressure to pick something, and then when you're in college, you have all this pressure to stick with that thing
Yeah.
or switch before it's too late or whatever, you know? And it really, it doesn't matter. It also, for the most part, I guess unless you're an incredibly intelligent person and there's like a very good program at a prestigious school,
Yeah.
normally it actually doesn't matter where you get your degree from. Nobody cares.
Nobody-
Nobody's looking at that when you apply for a job. Like,
No.
oh, where did you get your degree from?
No, it doesn't matter. And like, unless you're super specialized, other
Yeah.
than that, like, it really doesn't matter. It's about, again, which I think people will say is it's all about who you know and like how, like, what you got yourself into outside of classes. That's
Mhm.
really it.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Because I think if I hadn't gotten involved in internships and volunteering, I
Mhm.
wouldn't have had the opportunities that I got after college.
Yep.
They literally set me up for my future. And even though I didn't necessarily stick with those things, I worked with kids for a minute there too. Wasn't my thing. But I got that job because I did an internship.
Yeah.
And right out of college, I was employed and I felt so great and amazing. And then realized that I didn't like the job. So that was a whole thing too. And I just feel like there's so many pressures as a young person when you're in high school all the way until, I mean, I still feel the pressures now, but they're different. I'd say until like mid 20s. It's this constant pressure of, oh, you have to know what you're going to do and you have to have a good idea of like what your future looks like,
Yeah.
which I don't think is necessarily true.
It's not true. It's whatever you feel like you want to do in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are your basic needs met? Great.
Mm-hmm.
Do the rest, do whatever you want to do. It's fine. Like, I think also our idea of like what jobs are out there are so skewed. Like, there are so many jobs and niches and things like that. I'm like, wait, that's a job?
Yeah.
Awesome. You know? It's
Mhm.
so, it's opportunities are endless.
Yeah.
Of things. You just have to be open to it, and you just have to be like, oh, that sounds cool. How do I get involved in that? How do I know people? How do I network my way into that?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just, it falls in your lap and you're like, I really like this. How do I get more involved? It's like you don't know until you've either met somebody who is doing it, they got you involved in it, etc. Like that's how you find your passions. That's how you find what you think brings value. And
Mm-hmm.
when people say, once you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life, how do you think you're going to find that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, you're not like
Just listening to what everybody else says?
yeah,
No.
exactly, following a very linear path. No,
Mm-hmm.
it's not
Yeah.
linear.
And I do think that our generation has kind of figured it out a little bit, at least, that, oh, you don't have to stick with one job. I think older generations would argue that we jump around too much at jobs.
Yeah.
Or that we don't focus on the right things.
Mhm.
I remember my first job out of college, I had benefits. And my dad was pumped for me. He was like, you got benefits. Like, this is a real job. You know, you got a real job. And I hated it. I hated the job.
Yeah.
I worked 6 months and I just had it. like a kid tried to wipe poop on me, and that was the line that was crossed. I couldn't do it anymore. Like, you're not my child. I don't want your poop on me. This isn't the job. And so I told my dad I was quitting, and he was so upset because I was giving up benefits. And I it's just that older generation of like, oh, you're leaving your job too soon. Oh, you need to stay at a job X amount of years before jumping because otherwise it looks bad.
Yeah.
You know, there's all these opinions that maybe at one point were true, but I don't really think that they're true anymore. And I think people get so focused, or they get so stuck in needing to be something that other people want them to be, that they forget that, like, in the end, it doesn't really matter.
Meeting other people's expectations rather than like looking in themselves and like, do I even want to do this? Like, you have to understand that working takes up the majority of your day-to-day life. You have to understand that, because I think that when you look back on all of it and you're like, dang, I worked a lot, but like it gave me nothing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what a regret. That's like my
Mhm.
biggest regret, is like working so hard and doing all this stuff and looking back on my freaking deathbed and being like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
All for nothing.
I already have jobs where, I mean, it's fine and whatever, but I already have jobs in my past that I think about and I go, why did I stay there for so long?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was great for the first 2 years, and then I outgrew it, or the environment changed and it just wasn't for me anymore. And I stayed until I was absolutely miserable and really got to a point where I just was almost forced to leave. Like, I could not handle it. And I put myself in positions where I was incredibly unhappy.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's definitely a fear of mine, is looking back and saying, oh, wow, I really just kind of wasted my time doing something that I didn't like, and spent most of my days or hours in my day doing.
Yeah. Like, the immediate thing that pops into my head, and you know, I'll speak on my mom's behalf, but she worked at a company for 30 years. 30 years. Granted, while she was there, she was well taken care of. And, you know, I think maybe a year, maybe almost a year and a half ago, she got laid off. And it was just like, here's your severance package and thanks. And she felt like, I gave you 30 years of my life. And you just say, here's a severance package. Thanks for your time. And after being well taken care of for 30 years, and there's been like, see ya, like without anything, right? Some expectation of it needed to be more. And I'm unsure like what exactly that was for her. But that moment, she was like, it was almost a grieving process for her. Like, she put so much time and so much effort into this company, and then one day didn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
And that she didn't get the closure that she needed.
Yeah. And it is a good question, you know, what is it that you do need from that?
Yeah.
But I do think that there's this bigger thing you're pointing to, which is companies actually don't care about you. They don't. You might have
no loyalty.
You might have coworkers,
Sure,
that you get along with, become friends with. You might have a boss that is a little bit more of a mentor to you.
Yep.
But in the end, you are just one little ant. And are you really gonna spend 30 years of your life at a job that is all right, but you don't love, just for them to be like, peace?
Literally. Peace out. Like,
It's crazy.
and I think that's the most important part about all of this, is like, you can't hold your job to such a standard. It can be really detrimental to your mental health to be like, this is all I am.
Mm-hmm.
My job is all I am.
Oof, yeah.
You know, like, this is all I can be, is this. This is all I know myself to be,
Mm-hmm.
is this. And I think especially in American work culture, it can be very much like that. It's like, work hard and work hard and work harder and work harder, because that's exactly what was paved the way from you starting at high school.
Mm-hmm.
If you just work hard enough, you'll get to X. But the goalpost keeps moving.
Mm-hmm.
So there's really you're never going to reach it. You have to make that goalpost for you, not what other people are saying, not what the company's saying, not what all these other people are saying.
Yeah,
It has to be for you.
exactly. And, say what you want about, I know a lot of people have opinions about influencers and people who just get famous doing something, putting something online or whatever. But at least they're doing something that they enjoy for the most part.
Yeah.
They're doing something that they enjoy and they get really famous for it. Like, okay, cool.
Literally.
And they're just being creative. And I think, again, I would argue that people our age are also just like dogging on them too. But for the most part, it's older generations that don't quite get it and don't understand that you can be creative, you can make a hobby a job.
Yep.
They that just doesn't align for them. I don't want to like generalize, but I feel like
Yeah.
they tend to think, no, you have your hobbies and you have your job. And that's great and fine and normal, but your hobby can also be your job and you can do something different. You can take a different path that's not just a corporate job.
Exactly. And there's a way in our day and age, thankfully, to take your corporate job and just take what you want out of it,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you deem is valuable, and then you can come home and have a side hustle that you really enjoy. Like, you can have both.
Mm-hmm.
There's opportunities to have both, and maybe your side hustle blows up. That's awesome for you. Like, again, I honestly, the influencer culture and like YouTube culture and all of that is honestly so important, because it just shows how different we're moving
Mm-hmm.
from a traditional 9 to 5, from a traditional what we deem a job, and all of that. I think it's super important for just growing as a society in a career mindset, where it doesn't have to be you're a doctor, you're a firefighter, you're this. It's like, no, I'm a creator. I'm a creative person.
Mm-hmm.
I do this, I make that, I do like, it's, you can build your own wealth and not have to work for a company if you want to.
Yeah. Or work for a company and do stuff on the side, like you just said.
Yep.
It's okay to do both. You don't have to make work your entire life.
No.
Which I've been there too, and it's not fun.
I'm still guilty of it, honestly, to this day. But at the same time, it's like, I can see I can zoom out a little bit easier now, of being like, does this reflect me? No, okay, not my job. Not the hill is what I say to my people. Not the hill.
Not the hill.
But I think that you can still work for a company and still be able to find that value, and maybe not have a side hustle, right? Like, I love events. I've been doing events for forever, and I love this job because I get to flex in all of my creativity, my event design, everything I've ever learned, all encompassing into one. And so I find fulfillment out of that. Am I like for the company? No, I'm not. But the job that I do in my day to day is what I love. So it's cool. I'm good with it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just, how do you find that for yourself, and how do you kind of escape all of the expectations and of what other people think and what has traditionally been done, and what the older generations say you have to do, and all this stuff. It's like, there's so much out there that you just need to listen to yourself, honestly.
Yeah. And I don't even know that I would have legitimate step-by-step advice for people who are trying to figure out their career path and what they want to do, except for just try things.
Yeah.
You got to get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And there will be things that you try that you hate. There will be things that you try that you love. And they're like, in not even just work-related things. I last year went to like a country bar with my husband, and we learned how to two-step.
That's awesome.
Do I want to be a dancer now? Absolutely not.
But
we'll never. But it was really fun.
Yeah, it's learning that, and you're like, oh wait, you can become an instructor. of like
Yeah.
of country line dancing. How cool is
Mhm.
that? Like
Mhm.
there's so many things. You just got to get out there. You just got to do it.
Yeah.
And circling back to like college and stuff, I feel like that's where you can really stretch out of like, okay, I'm gonna go to this club, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna, because it's all there. It's so centralized for you.
Mhm.
And so like an opportunity to just go for it in a controlled environment where you don't have like adult pressures of like, oh, I gotta pay rent and I gotta feed myself and I gotta do all these things, which when you get out of college and out of that safer environment, it becomes a little difficult.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's the pressure of financial stability and pressures of all that. So I think if you have the opportunity and that you can go to college, and again, it's not even like a full 4 year. You can do this at community college. You can do this anywhere.
Mhm.
And in that time frame of your life, and just go for it. Because
Yeah.
you got nothing to lose in that moment. You
Yeah.
really don't.
You can also just take random classes at any community college without even signing up for a major.
Yep.
You can get what's it called? Like financial support to do it too.
Yeah.
And you don't
didn't
have to
think
be a
about that.
full-time student. So there are opportunities, and yeah, I do recognize that a lot of things do cost money, but again, we live in the age of the internet and technology. There's a lot of stuff online that you can
Yeah.
watch or read about, or there's a lot of ways around it. I don't have to go pay for a dance class. I could literally go on
On
TikTok or YouTube and look up an influencer who's or like a famous dancer
Yeah.
to teach me moves. I've done it before. It was really bad, but I tried it.
We did it,
Yeah.
But it's like stay curious, always stay curious, and like hopefully you can find fulfillment in that.
Mm-hmm.
But again, yeah, I think another part of the pressure of career and things like that is like the growth. Like, where's my growth?
Ooh, what are my goals?
What are my
What's my
goals?
path?
What's my path? And it always has to be up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to grow. I want this. And it's like, that's not true for everybody. But there's this expectation that it's like, oh, I've been at this job title for 8 years. What are you doing with your life?
Mm-hmm.
It's just not fair. It's just not fair. What if they're good with that? What if that's all they can handle in that moment?
Mm-hmm.
What if like everything going on in their life, they cannot handle more responsibility? But they have their needs met, they feel good, they're like I'm comfortable here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what brings them value. There's so much pressure into like, what's next for me? What's next for me?
Yeah.
And I'm like the worst at that. I'm literally talking to myself.
Yeah, well, but it's true. It's always that what's next. And we just talked about how crazy it is that older generations stay at jobs forever. But for them, maybe it was the position they wanted. It was a comfortable place in their life with everything else that was going on for them. And that's what worked. And they were cool with it.
Yeah.
And we're judging that. And, it's just because, like, again, we live in the world of you have to have goals and you have to have a path. I don't think either is right or wrong. It depends on the individual, but definitely the whole, I'm always there. Like, what's next? What's next? What's next?
Yep.
Do you have like thoughts for yourself about where you want to go, or are you content right now?
I feel like I think I mentioned this in our first episode, but like I love change. I am the what's next person all day long. But I know that about myself and I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in my whole entire like career, it was never linear. It was ups and downs and here's and there's and let's try this and let's try that and let's try this and let's try that. And I don't really set goals for myself. It's very much like whatever comes into my path. Is it good for me? Is it not? Yes or no? Okay, I'll try it. Okay, no, I'm going to pass.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I kind of just let things come and I make decisions on that. And I kind of like already know in myself if like something's not working for me, and I'll dip. Like, for an example, I had a job and I literally stayed for a month and I thought it was going to be the best job in the world. I literally was so excited for it. And, I was hoping to plan all these crazy events, and it just was 100% not that.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of, waiting. I had benefits. I had all this stuff waiting and have another job lined up. I literally was like, I'm out. And then I went and served for 6 months. Not even 3-4 months.
Good for you. That's something I'm really bad at is I have to have something lined up or I feel incredibly uncomfortable and like I feel very unstable. You know, it's just it works for me, but it also has had its downsides over the years where again, I just stay at a job too long because I'm looking for something else and I hate this job, but I gotta have something else lined up. And, you know, there were times where I should have just up and quit and just gone back to serving or something.
Yeah. And I don't, again, it's like, thankfully I had the means to do that, and not everybody has the means to do that. But I think it's also okay. And what I'm trying to get at is like, it's okay to not, to every step of the way doesn't have to be a trajectory. It doesn't have to go up.
Mm-hmm.
Like it could be, and serving to me was like a sidestep. It wasn't even down, but it was like fun for me. I got to be able to like get out of my head a little bit and like make good money and, you know, like flex on my people skills. And like I learned skills in that moment. It's like, how do you frame your mind to thinking that everything that you choose to do is you're learning new skills, you're learning new things, you're beefing up said skills. Like, how do we frame our minds that it's not negative?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, people, oh, you're a server now? I thought you were trying to be a big shot events person. And I'm like, yeah, but like, I'm cool. Like, we're good. I'm gonna figure it out. It's gonna happen for me. And it did. It just kind of came and happened that way.
It probably gave you time to really think about what you wanted your next move to be anyway.
Exactly. It gave me room to breathe.
Yeah.
Like it was a very toxic environment from the first, like the job that I quit after a month. It was so toxic that I was like, do I even want to do this anymore? Like events
was it like your boss or?
It was my boss, like my boss and then her boss. And then it was just like, I had no autonomy to do anything. And I was like, then why did you hire me for this position if I like literally have to like do whatever you tell me to do? And that was never what was discussed with me. They were like, we need you to do this and we need you to build it from the ground up and we really value your opinions. That was the whole thing. And I was so excited. And it was just like, yeah, just do whatever that person says. I'm like,
yeah, not for me.
We're good.
Yeah.
But again, going back to like something that I can fall back on and having like serving be something that I could just literally walk in and be able to like get a server job and start the next day. Like that's such a blessing because not everybody has something like that they can go to. But I think also people think about it like, oh, I'm stepping down. It's like, I can't go back to serving because of, or I can't go back to being at a retail person, like working at retail. I can't go back to working at Safeway. I can't go back to working those other jobs that I know I could get a job literally the next day because it's going back.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to be failing. And it's not even true. It's not even true.
Yeah.
It's just so you can be okay and have that financial stability to continue. It's fine.
Yeah, like just remember, you're going to be working 60 years of your life,
100.
if not more. So taking a sidestep or switching up the career or, you know, taking on something that you might consider as a little bit of a break from what you were normally doing is okay. You got 60 years to work. So
like chill out. I think maybe the end of the story is chill out. It's okay. Just chill out.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
I'm in chill out mode right now, actually, because like I said, wanted to be in events for so long, just events. And now that I'm there, I don't even know what's next.
Yeah.
I really don't. It's probably the first time where I haven't had a career goal. I have goals within the job,
sure,
but not as of right now. I don't have something like, oh, this is what's next. I want to do this in 2 years' time. And that's how I've always been.
Yeah.
But it's been really interesting to just sit and the job that I have right now and enjoy it and not really need to think about what's next.
Yeah.
Do I need to get additional certifications, or what's something I need to do on the side, or who do I need to network with? And those things are all good and they serve their purpose, but
Yeah.
I'm chilling right now and it's nice.
Honestly, I think it's such an awesome thing to be able to just be like, I'm good right now. Like, I don't have to continue like stressing out over the what's next. And I feel that way too. This is the longest show I've ever had.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And
how long have you been? 4?
Almost 3, just a little over 3 years.
Okay.
But like, if you can believe that, it's the longest show I've ever had. It's a little
Dang.
over 3 years, which is nuts. If you look at my resume, I probably have 20 jobs on there at least. Like, not the one that I post, but the one that I've actually done.
Like all your full job history.
My full job history. And not just because I'm just like, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? I'm just gonna hip hop around, blah blah blah, and it's fine. But it's a totally different feeling when you're like, I'm chilling.
Mhm.
I'm good here. Like, I'm just gonna write this out until the next wave hits me.
Yeah.
You know?
Just see what comes. Like, don't try to force anything,
Exactly.
and see what opportunities arise from the current job that you're at.
Yep.
And they'll come.
Look up. Maybe one day you'll meet somebody and you'll do something. You're like, wow, that's actually so sick. How do I get involved?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's how it happens. It's organic. It's organic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's good.
It is good.
Career goals.
Literally. It's just such a big part of people's life.
Mm-hmm.
Is their career. And I think that a lot of like the content I see on Instagram and like TikTok, if you will, it's very much about either like separating yourself from your career or like making it work for you. And I think it's super helpful for a lot of people in different positions. And, you know, again, I think there was always this notion of like, your job is you, your job is life, your job is this. And it can be, but it's also just knowing yourself and knowing that it's okay if it's not, it's okay if it is, and just knowing what's good for you at the end of the day. Like, if you're coming home crying because of work every day, you gotta go.
Oof, been there.
You gotta go. There's no point. There's literally no point to be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not beneficial to anybody. You clearly hate it. Move on. You gotta move on.
Yeah.
And if you're coming home and you feel fulfilled and you're feeling energized or what have you, and you're like, wow, okay, this is good, then that's, you know, something to look out for.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and you got to stop comparing yourself to everybody else, because, oof, I am guilty of doing that all the time.
Yeah.
This person has this, or this person makes this much money, or this person got their master's degree to get better jobs. Do I need to do that? Do I need to go back to school? Like, constant internal questions, thinking I need to do more always because I see other people around me excelling.
Yeah.
And especially when you get on something like LinkedIn, for instance, you know, Instagram is one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course you can compare yourself to people on Instagram, but LinkedIn, you start seeing everybody's accomplishments and you go, oh, I need to get a volunteer job. I need to get a second job. I need to start posting about this constantly, taking more photos, posting those photos so people know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And you just create all these pressures for yourself. It's so stupid.
It's literally its own it is a social media platform, which is so funny because I think when LinkedIn started, it wasn't ever that way. And like, people are posting so many different types of content on there. Like, there's reels on there now.
No,
I don't know, or whatever they call it.
Reels.
And there's like professional influencers on there now, and like life coaches. Don't even get me started. Life coaches and like all these people that are telling you what you should be doing again. That's the thing. It's like, well, I'm a life coach and you should be doing X, Y, and Z, or else you're never gonna retire. You should be doing X, Y, and Z to continue the growth. And it's like, it's funny how like we talk about influencers and how great they can be, but they also can be throwing so much like expectations on people. Be like, and making them reflect on themselves, be like, am I in a good spot? I felt like I was, but no, maybe I'm not. And it's like,
Mhm.
how do you redefine what success is for you? You have to do that for yourself.
Mhm.
But that person who is an influencer and has like 2 million followers, they made that for themselves. They redefined their success by telling others potentially what they should do. And that's all fine and dandy. But at the end of the day, it's like, how do you clear the noise? How do you look into yourself? How do you look at yourself and being like, I'm good? How do I know that I'm successful? Regardless of what everybody says, regardless of what we think success looks like. Like, what does it look like for you?
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just go from there.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
No, and again,
It's
this
not
is a
easy to
journey.
have that. Yeah, it's a journey. It's
Yeah.
a journey. But even just taking a few minutes to yourself to reflect on what it is you like and don't, again, going back to trying things, that's what
Yeah.
you got to do.
Yeah.
And if you need to take a break from LinkedIn, do that. I'm really
Do
bad about
that.
LinkedIn. I pretty much only use my LinkedIn right before I'm about to get a new job. I'm like liking posts and
That's how
commenting on things. I'm so bad about it. I just updated my LinkedIn
That's good.
months after I started this job. I started the job in January. I still hadn't had my previous job on there. That's how bad I was.
That's awesome. And that's how I know if I'm like on LinkedIn and like their latest job is like filled with what they are doing. I'm like, oh, are we looking?
Mhm.
I see you're active.
It's also so funny when you see someone that has a little circle that says looking for work
Oh,
and they're actively working at their current job. It's just like, but they're just openly saying like,
I'm looking for a new job.
I'm looking for a new job.
Well, that's the other thing is like because it's a social platform and like it's attached to your work. It's such a weird thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, am I allowed to post that? Am I allowed to do this? Are they gonna like look at this stuff? Like I've seen people post like outside of our organization within the company, and they're like, I'm super interested. I was like, wait, you're still full time?
Yeah, you still are on my team, actually.
Yeah, I'm like,
You
oh,
trying to leave?
yeah, I'm like, what's happening here?
Do I need to start updating a job description because you're about to like dip? Yeah, it's so funny because when you add a job on LinkedIn, it notifies like the main page of that company.
Yeah.
So they're like aware you're on LinkedIn, you're connected to them, and that's why you should also be careful about what you're posting on LinkedIn. Hot take of the day.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into this hot take.
Okay, hot take of the day is personal posts on LinkedIn. I have seen an uptick in personal posts on LinkedIn. And again, I understand that you own it as a person. It is a personal account. But at the end of the day, there is some professionalism that I would like to keep on LinkedIn. And that is, let's not post about your personal life. Let's not do that if it's not connected to your business that you own, that it's not connected to a project that you worked on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't necessarily come to LinkedIn to look at your baby photos.
Yeah.
I don't.
It's a professional networking platform.
Correct.
There are other social media platforms for pictures of your baby or your
I don't know you.
Political views. Again, if it's connected to something that you're doing with your job or a project or something, cool, totally understood. But also, I think that there are platforms to share your opinions or your personal life updates.
I can list off 10 right now, other platforms where you should be posting that baby photo. Okay? And LinkedIn ain't the one. It's not the one. Or like some salespeople that just randomly pop up on my LinkedIn and they will like do a clickbait title. They're like, my wife like left me X, Y, and Z. This is why it taught me about B2B sales.
My wife left me for another man. This is how I learned how to do B2B sales. That's so funny.
Like literally clickbait posts.
Oh my God.
And I'm just like, what? I'm sorry. I have whiplash.
Yeah.
Whiplash. Or like they post a picture of their dog, which okay, I'm in for the dog photos. I can stretch the line a bit with dog photos. I'm here for that. But it's like the thing, and also political posts I've been seeing a lot, which I understand it can get a little hairy and a little blurry. But again, it's the things that you post on a professional platform do roll over to next jobs and next things. And it's one quick search about what you've liked. I can see people like what they've liked and posts that they've liked years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It tracks all that on your profile. It'll say what you liked. It'll say what you've commented. It will say all these things. And so like when you're like, let's say that you really wanted a position and you've networked with this person and you made a political post or a very, polarizing post. And again, that's what you do. That's your values. But then that person either doesn't agree or doesn't think that was appropriate, and then you lose that position, right?
Yeah.
And again, it's like you're willing to make those posts and you're willing to do those things at the risk of potentially losing position. And I could see that some people could be like, well, that's how I feel, and if that person doesn't agree with me, then I don't want to work for them.
Okay, I was going to say that as like, what is your opinion on the people who say, well, I'm going to post what I'm going to post, and if like a potential employer doesn't like my views, then I don't want to work for them. What would you say to that?
It would be like, well, I mean, that's a stance. That is an opinion, that's a stance, and that's a choice.
Yeah. And if that's how you feel, it's not necessarily wrong, I guess. But again, going back to professional networking platform. Is it networking? No.
Right.
Is it professional? No.
Yeah, what is the purpose of you posting it on a professional networking platform versus your own personal threads, X, Instagram, Facebook, whatever? Why is that the choice to post on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Why is that the choice?
Because truly, if you don't care, then you can have a public Instagram or a public X account. And I tell you what, if an employer really wants to know what your views are, they're going to find you on those social media platforms and they're going to look at your stuff. 100%. So you don't have to put it on LinkedIn.
It's not the right place. It's just not the right place.
Yeah.
It's okay to be who you are. I'm going to say it again. Professional networking platform.
Yeah.
It's about not that.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree. Yeah. People got to chill on LinkedIn. They got to just chill out.
They really need to stop. Okay. And that's our hot take of the week.
It really is. Yeah. Yeah. Just think. And you'll be good.
You'll be fine. Guys, it's not the place, okay? It's not the place.
Not the place. Well, thank you for joining us for our episode 3, all about careers, pivoting, success, what
on
that
your
looks
own
like.
terms, okay? On your own terms.
Mm-hmm. And everything's going to be fine, really. Like I said, you got 60 plus years to work. It's going to be okay.
You're going to be all right. Just ease into it. Stay curious. And you'll be good.
Yeah. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.